Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and salutation to you, elect Akim, across the four corners of this earth, kicking this word in sincerity and truth. I was going to Apostle Tahar done a video, and it's a very interesting watch. And it's titled The Doctrine of Discoveries, okay? And he go, Revelation 20th chapter. And then he goes into the Doctrine of Discoveries. It's a very good watch. I definitely recommend you brothers to watch it whenever you brothers get a chance. Because he goes into, I guess the best way I could describe it, he goes into when the Spaniards or Christopher Columbus had came over here, there was a doctrine that was used, and it was, pretty much ordained by the popes of Rome around that time to pretty much give them justifiable causes, if so I must say, justifiable causes to go to these other countries, and enslave people, all right? And it's a religious sect they have, again, called the Doctrine of Discoveries. Again, it's a very good watch if you want to watch it. Now, with this video I'm going to go into right now, it's going to really be based on Christopher Columbus and him coming over here and the atrocities that he had done to the Northern Kingdom. All right, but I'm going to just use a few of the examples that Apostle Tahar brought out in this video, and I'm going to place it on this video as well. All right, so Lord willing, it's edifying. I'm going to, again, go into the Doctrine of Discoveries like he had went. So I'm going to bring up a few points in that, and I'm also going to pull up an article that I have just going into the stuff that Christopher Columbus had done when he came over here. And of course, scriptures are going to be out as well. But Lord willing, it's edifying. Shalom. All right. So as I go into this, again, Apostle Tahar thoroughly went through what was called the Doctrine of Discoveries. And those doctrine, of course, is made up of different doctrine. Okay, and it all just goes into one, and that's where you get the whole Doctrine of Discoveries from. And again, if you want to get the full detail of it, again, I'd recommend Apostle Tahar's video he had done. All right, but as you go into one of the doctrine, okay, it was made up of several ones, which made completed the Doctrine of Discoveries in a whole. One of them is called Dum Diversus, and again, when I read this, it's gonna tie into the enslavement of us so-called Negroes, and also Christopher Columbus going all the way to the Americas. All right, but when you go into Dum Diversus, it says is a papal bull issued on the 18th of June 1452 by Pope Nicholas V. It authorized Alfonso V of Portugal to conquer the Saracens. Okay, and if you don't know, the Saracens were they were under the belief of Islam. Okay, and pagans, and consigned them to perpetual servitude. All right, and if you don't know what perpetual servitude is, when you go to perpetual, that means continuing, ongoing servitude. Okay, pretty much meaning slavery. All right, so they're pretty much through this authorization of the Pope and the King of Portugal. All right, they use this in order to justify their means of enslaving people who weren't under their Catholic vibration. All right, that's why they came over to the Americas and did what they done to the Northern Kingdom, because they were saying that they didn't follow our Christian belief. You know what I mean? So we have means to put them in slavery, and the same reasons why they also went to Western Africa, where we were at. And this is going to continue to go into that. They were saying we were pagans, though, which a lot of our people were pagans at that time, but a lot of us did follow the law, statutes, commandments still. All right. But as you continue, it says Calixtus III reiterated the bull in 1456 with Inter Caetera, and I'm going to go into that. And it says not to be confused with Alexander VI's version, because he had a version of the Inter Caetera as well. All right, and it says renewed by Pope Sixtus IV. All right, and I believe he was the Pope that ruled that reigned after Rodrigo Borgia or Alexander VI. Okay, in 1481, and Pope Leo. Okay, never mind. It was Pope Leo that ruled after him, Slovakia. And Pope Leo X in 1514 with Paracelsus Denosianus, I believe that's how it's pronounced. The concept of consignment of exclusive spheres of influence to certain nation states was extended to the Americas in 1493 by Pope Alexander VI with Antikythera, okay? And again, I'm going to go into the Antikythera, but I'm going to go into these doctrine, okay? And they use this doctrine as justifiable means in order to invade a land, take all of their goods for themselves, enslave the people, and put them to their use, okay? And again, it goes to their so-called religion known as the Doctrine of Discoveries. And just for edification's sake, I'm going to go to this word doctrine. Of course, we know what doctrine is, being in its truth, but I'm going to go to the definition of it, and I use Etymology Explorer. And this is the definition for doctrine. It says a belief or a tenet, especially about philosophical or theological matters, the body of teachings of a religious or religious leader, organization, group, or text. All right, and we can use multiple examples of history. When they would conquer a land, they would go to a land, they would take everything and they would teach them their philosophies. Just like when we were in slavery under these devils, okay? We were in perpetual servitude. And that even when you go to that word perpetual servitude, which he had brought out beautifully in his video, that shows you that we're still in that position today as well. All right. And we were force-fed their doctrine. We were force-fed their philosophies, okay? In order to follow a picture of Cesare Borgia and say he was the Lord, okay? And with the Roman Catholic Church being the head of every religious sect, okay? And again, we know we don't follow religion, but I'm just going according to this doctrine right here, okay? This is the definition of the word doctrine. So they use this in order to put us in captivity, all right? Now, the next one I'm going to go to is the Romanist Pontifex, and this is also another part of the Doctrine of Discoveries. Okay, and this was established after the papal. It was established after the papal bull Dum Diversa. Okay, and it reads Latin for the Roman Pontiff. It's a papal written in 1454 by Pope Nicholas V to King Alphonse V of Portugal as a follow-up to Dum Diversas, which we had just read. Okay, so it was a follow-up to it. Okay, and it confirmed the crown of Portugal dominion over all lands south of Cape Bahadur in Africa. And if you don't know where that's located at, I got a picture pulled up which shows you that this is all prophecy being fulfilled at the end of the day. But man, he did a great video. I'm talking about, I don't want to digress, but he had literally brought out Revelation, the 20th chapter, okay? Going into, during the start of the Byzantine Empire, that's when we started putting these devils in subjection for 1,000 years, okay? And right after that 1,000th year, that's when all this doctrine started coming about, and then went right over to where we were, and they had took us from West Africa. As you can see, it's Cape Bahadur, okay? And when you read in Revelation, the 20th chapter, it says he was loosed for a short season. So right after this devil was loosed, he had went straight to business and started doing what was written for him to do. So this shows you that these prophecies are real. These scriptures are real, okay? But if you can see on the map, this is Cape Bahadur in Western Africa. Again, that's where the Southern Kingdom dwelt. Of course, we know Israelites were scattered. We were scattered. But a majority of the Southern Kingdom dwelt in this part of Africa. And during the transatlantic slave trade, which was around this time, okay, well, pretty much it started around this time and it progressed further on, all right? But again, this section of Africa was where we started being placed in these other parts of the world and were made servants, okay? Again, this doctrine said it gave them justifiable cause to put perpetual servitude amongst these people. All right. The Northern Kingdom, which were in the Americas, and the Southern Kingdom, where majority was in Western Africa. OK, now I'm going to go back to that article. OK, and again, it said confirmed to crown of Portugal dominion over all the lands in Cape Bahadur in Africa, because they said that these people over here were pagans. A lot of them were Muslims, pagans. They didn't follow under Roman Catholicism. A lot of us still followed the law, statutes, commandments, but just because it differed from Roman Catholicism, they put us in captivity. That was their excuse to be able to say, we're going to put these people in captivity under us. All right. Along with encouraging the seizure of the lands of Saracen Turks, again, Saracen, that goes into Islamic Turks and non-Christians, it repeated the earlier bull's permission for the enslavement of such people. So this doctrine here completed it. All right. It gave them permission to enslave these people. Okay, this was their excuse to be like, okay, look, we're going to go to these lands and we're going to enslave this people. Ultimately, these people knew. They knew, the higher-ups knew that this was the apple of the Lord's eye. The higher-ups knew that these were Israelites that they were putting in captivity. All right, but again, prophecy had to be filled. And this devil had to be loose for a short season, like it's written in Revelation, the 20th chapter. Okay, it says the bull's primary purpose was to forbid other Christian nations from infringing the King of Portugal's rights of trade and colonization in these regions. Okay, this bull should not be confused with a September 21st, 1451 bull by the same name. And it's so ironic that this date is September 21st, which starts the autumn equinox. Not to want to digress, but if you go into that day, the occultists, the elites were heavy on doing things on certain days. Okay, and when you go into that day, September 21st, that is a Sabbath the witches follow, or the elites follow, which is called Mabon, where they sacrifice. All right, don't want to digress, but I think it's quite ironic that they use that date to make another bull. All right, with the same exact name of the same exact name as the Romanus Pontifex. All right, but I'm going to continue. It says in 1451, bull by the same name, also written by Nicholas V, relieving the dukes of Austria from any potential ecclesiastical Caesars from permitting Jews to dwell there. All right, so the last one I'm going to go to, and it's what we read earlier in the Dumb Diverses, and I'm going to go back to it at the end of it. It's the Intercatera. All right, so as I go into the Intercatera, and as you see, where is this placed at? South America, where Christopher Columbus, or Christobal Colon, I believe, Salakia, where he came at, all right, and enslaved these people. Again, Western Africa, which I showed previously, in South America, all right? And it says, Intercatera, among the other works, was a papal bull issued by Pope Alexander VI. And this is the father of this is the father of Cesare Borgia, who Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo painted pictures of and portrayed him to be the anointed one. All right, which we know if you're in this truth, who Yahushua is. But if you know this, the Pope had this orchestrated for his son to be the face of the church. All right, for people to worship. And when that came over to South America and the Caribbeans, they were showing that picture of Pope Alexander VI's son and said, this is the Messiah. This is who you need to worship. Okay, goes into that doctrine of discoveries. Okay, using so-called quote unquote religious Catholic means in order to slave people and put them under their subjection. All right, but it says Pope Alexander VI on the 4th of May, 1493, was granted to Spain the crowns of Castilla and Aragon, all lands to the west and south. Okay, when you go to the west, that was way over here where it showed up here. They considered this to be the west. All right. Where'd I leave off at? Okay, west and the south of a pole to pole line 100 leagues west and south of any of the islands of Azores and Cape Verde. All right. It remains unclear to the present whether the Pope was issuing a donation of sovereignty or feudal infeudation, I believe that's what it's pronounced, or investiture. Differing interpretations have been argued since the bull was issued, with some arguing that it was only meant to transform the possession and occupation of land into lawful sovereignty. Others, including the Spanish crown and the conquistadors, interpreted with the widest possible sense, deducting that it gave Spain full political sovereignty. Okay, so again, this happened right after pretty much that 1,000 years of enslavement was loosed, and this devil became loose for a short season. Okay, and that's what he was doing. He was putting the apple of the Lord's eyes, the apples of the Lord's eyes, Salakia, in captivity. And this doctrine gave them again justifiable cause to do so. All right, now I'm gonna go to an article. Again, I just wanted to re-go over what Apostle Tahar brought out, which again, his video was very interesting. But I got a paper article going to the stuff and the atrocities that Christopher Columbus had done. All right. So this is the article that I was talking about, And the title of it says 8 Myths and Atrocities About Christopher Columbus and Columbus Day. Again, you can go to his name, Christobal, Colombo, and Mr. Christobal Colon, Salaki. All right. But it says, after obtaining funding for his exportations to reach Asia from the seizures and sales of property from Spanish Jews and Muslims by the order of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, Columbus headed out to explore a new world with money and ships, okay? And you know who financed them? The so-called Jews, all right? So when you go down, it says Columbus never landed on American soil. Not in 1942, not ever, because in 1942, that's when he came. I'm sorry, not in 1492, Salakia. And when you go to 1492, that was a year right before Pope Alexander VI had signed the doctrine of, yeah, that's right, Inter Caetera, okay, because pretty much Alexander VI reiterated Inter Caetera, but Inter Caetera was already in play. And when you go to the Doomed Diverses, that gave them rights to go over to the Americas and enslave these people. All right, but continuing on, I don't want to digress. It says Columbus never landed on American soil, not in 1492, not ever. We're not talking about Leif Erikson, Viking explorer story. We mean Columbus didn't land on the higher 48 ever. Columbus quite literally landed in what is known as the Bahamas and later Hispaniola, present-day Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. And also, too, him and other generals, Cortez, another example of them with the conquistadors, they went all over South America, all right? But it says, upon arrival, Columbus and his expedition of weapon-laden Spaniards met Arawaks, Tainos, and Lucians, all friendly, according to Columbus' writings. Soon after arriving, Columbus wrecked the Santa Maria, and the Arawaks worked for hours to save the crew and cargo. Now, it's a scripture that I'm going to go into really quick, just to show that these people never had beef with them at first. Okay, the scriptures consider them being a mixed multitude, because these people it mentioned go into being of the northern kingdom. All right, the other 10 tribes that came over here during the Assyrian captivity. And I'm just going to read it really quick. All right. As it reads, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. Okay, and the scriptures call that land the land of Arsareth. Okay, and if you're spiritual, you know that it's talking about the land of America. But the key point why I want to bring this out, it says, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude. Okay, so the scriptures consider these people being a peaceable people. All right, just like it says right here, it says all friendly, which goes into being all peaceable. According to Columbus's writings, soon after arriving, Columbus wrecked the Santa Maria, and the Arawaks worked for hours to save the crew and cargo. All right, so you have to be a real devil. You have to be a real demonic being in order to enslave and do the stuff that you've done to this people after they've got done helping you. All right, and that shows you who the devil is. Like Revelation, the 20th chapter, talks about the dragon. All right, we know the dragon is referred to being the Edomites, and it calls him the devil. Okay. And that just goes hand in hand with these guys, man, because when I go further into this article, the stuff that they've done to these people is only stuff that a devil would do. All right. And it says, impressed with the friendliness of the native people, Columbus seized control of the land in the name of Spain. He also helped himself to some locals. In his journey, he wrote, as soon as I arrived in the Indies, on the first island which I found, I took some of the natives by force in order that they might learn and might give me information of whatever there is in these parts. And I'm pretty sure that these people that he had took to give them this intel were nobles, all right? People that knew about certain things, people that knew where the money was, people that knew where the riches were, because they came over there and they had gathered all the gold. They found all the gold mines. They found all the rich ports, okay? And he had used the people that were there that knew the secrets of the island, okay? And he probably took them by force, all right? Well, no, I can't even say probably. This article goes into how he took them by force. Okay? As I go to the next page, it says Columbus painted a horrible picture of peaceful natives. Okay? And this is what it says. When Columbus first saw the native Arawaks that came to greet him and his crew, he spoke with a peaceful and admiring tone. Okay? And that's the same thing that this devil's been doing in history. Okay? Like when you go to, I'm not going to go to it. I'm going to just, use this scripture as a reference. And I actually have it written down right here. It's 1 Maccabees, the 6th chapter, and the 48th verse, when it goes, and Elisha speaking peaceable words unto us. And that opened our hearts up. And when after that happened, the Grecian troops came in and destroyed the land of Beth-horon. Okay? But again, it was those peaceable words that was used to help pacify us, so we'd open up to them. And as soon as he had done that, again, they had brought troops in to destroy us. Okay? With that being the case, I'm going to continue. And this is what Columbus said. They brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things. Again, it's just going to them being peaceable because the scriptures talked about them being a peaceable multitude. All right? They willingly traded everything they owned. They were well built with good bodies and handsome features, which also shows that these Europeans or Edomites, all right, were homosexuals. To be able to give them these type of descriptions show that they were lusting over them, and a lot of those troops were probably buck breaking them the same way they were buck breaking us in history. All right, they do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword. They took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron. Their spears are made of cane. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we can subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. And again, with them being able to do this, they had justifiable cause in their own point of view, in their own minds, because again, we all know that this isn't justifiable, but it was all prophecy being fulfilled, us having to go into captivity. But under their logic, they had justifiable causes because they had what, again, we're talking about the doctrine of discoveries. And again, when you go into those doctrines, you have the Romanus, again, Salaki, I have it written down. It's hard to pronounce. They have the Romanus Pontifex, and again, the Doom Diversal and the Intercatera, which again gives them justifiable cause to make them subjugate them and put them in slavery. Okay, they pretty much plotted on their ignorance, okay, and used them to their advantage. All right, the same thing this devil's been doing in history. Okay, after several months in the Caribbean, on January 13th, 1493, 2 natives were murdered during the trading. Columbus, who had otherwise described the natives as gentle people, okay, and we have this shows right here him saying they were gentle people. Okay, it says, who had otherwise described the natives as gentle people, wrote, they are evil, and I believe they are from the island of Carib, and that they eat men. He also described them as savage cannibals, with dog-like noses that drink the blood of their victims. The cannibal story is taught as fact in some of today's schools. And yes, it is, because even when I was young in school, they would teach us this stuff. And I have some scriptures to the side. I'm going to go into them in a little bit. But it's just going into the lies that this devil pushes. Okay, the scripture saying Habakkuk the 2nd chapter that his soul is not upright in him. And you can see this, that his soul is not upright in him. This is demonic stuff that he's done. This is true stuff that a devil would do. Because when you go into the word devil, it means deceiver. Okay, these people have the spirit of Satan on them. And when you go into that word Satan, it means adversary. This is our enemy right here. This is our adversary. And this documents right here shows that this is your adversary. Okay, I'm going to jump down to this column, and it says, and it's highlighted in pink, several accounts of cruelty and murder include Spaniards testing the sharpness of blades on native people by cutting them in half. So they use this for sport. They would cut the natives in half for sport just to see whose knives and swords were sharper. And that even goes in the scripture in Proverbs, roughly paraphrasing, but it says mischief is sport to the ungodly. All right. And this is mischief, and it's a sport to the ungodly. They use this stuff as a sport, and this goes into their pride. They don't care. Again, the scriptures say their soul is not upright in them. Continuing on, it says beheading them in contest and throwing natives into vats of boiling soap. There are also accounts. One sec. There we go. There are also accounts of infants being lifted from the mother's breasts by Spaniards, only to be dashed headfirst into large rocks, okay? And the reason why Psalms 137:9 is written right there, because that's in the scriptures. And they probably use this scripture to say that, oh, we can do this to these people through our doctrine because they're not Christians anyway. They're pagans, so we can do this to them, we can subjugate to them, and we can implement fear to these people. But little do they know, what goes around comes around. And I'm going to bring that scripture out here in a little bit, okay? Now, when you read this here, it says, Bartolome de las Casas, a former slave owner who became Bishop of Chiapas, described these exploits. Such inhumanities and barbarisms were committed in my sight as no age can parallel. It's saying no age can parallel to the atrocities that these devils had done to our people, our brothers in the northern kingdom. Okay? Continuing on, he wrote, my eyes have seen these acts so foreign to human nature that now I tremble as I write. All right. And this goes into this devil being a devil, man. Those acts they've done were horrendous. They were horrendous. And again, it just goes into this devil being the devil that he was. I'm going to go back to this page. But if you go to the first page on here, and this is actually a real picture. Let me see if I can find it. I know what it is. Look at this picture right here, man. Look at them just standing there, chilling. Our brothers in the northern kingdom getting eaten by dogs, by hounds. People don't even know that's where you get the name bloodhound from. Doing that, man. Do you see this? Look at that. Eating his face. Come on, man. That's where you get the name bloodhound from. And if you read this, it says Columbus and his men haunted natives with war dogs. Again, those were bloodhounds. All right. So I'm going to jump back. And again, I was going to pull some scriptures out too. But I'm gonna just read this last column here. All right. I believe this is the one that talks about the gold. Oh man, it's just so much meat on this. Again, I'm gonna show what it's called so brothers can go online and look at it themselves. But it's some 8 myths and atrocities about Christopher Columbus and Columbus Day. And it's ictmn.com. Okay, I wish I could go all into this, but I'm limited in time, so I can't do it. But if brothers want to go into this, that's the website right there. It's a lot of edifying information on this article here. All right. But it says Columbus enslaved the native people for gold. All right. And again, he used the nobles out of those people in order to find the gold mines. All right. It says because Columbus reported a plethora of natives for slaves, Salakia, rivers of gold and fertile pastures to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, Columbus was given 17 ships and more than 1,200 men on his next expedition. However, Columbus had to deliver. In the next few years, Columbus was desperate to fulfill those promises. Hundreds of native slaves died on their way back to Spain, and gold was not as bountiful as expected. And this shows how much they didn't care. The same thing happened to us being in the Southern Kingdom on the way over here. Thousands of us died. Millions of us died on the way back. Okay? So this is nothing but a product of the curses. And when you go further into this article, and this goes into whenever you read it if you want to, it talks about when they enslaved the natives, they had them mining for gold in their gold mines. And if they didn't reach a certain quota, a certain criteria, they would chop their hands off. And it talks about over hundreds of thousands of them, or us, yeah, because we're all of Israel, died without hands. Okay? Goes into the oppression that this devil had caused, man. All right? Now I'm going to pull up a few scriptures again. You can see how happy they were just selling our brothers right over here to them, man. Looking scared. And he's just presenting to the king and queen out there, man. They don't care about us. They never cared about us. And again, when you go into these doctrine, that gives them liable cause to be able to kill us in the streets till to this day, because we're still presented as slaves. Because when you went into the dumb diverses, again, it said to make them perpetual servants, to perpetuate slavery. And again, it's going on right now. That's why we can die. The cops won't get acquitted. Nothing bad will happen. There's nothing new under the sun, and this stuff is still in effect. All right. But again, I'm going to go into a few scriptures. All right. All right. So this is Psalms chapter 55. I'm going to start at verse 19. It says, the Most High shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, because they have no changes. Therefore they fear not the Most High. And these people never feared the Most High. If they feared the Most High, they wouldn't do what they had done to the apple of the Lord's eye. But again, it's prophecy being fulfilled in Revelation, the 20th chapter. And I'm going to jump back to Psalms 55. But as it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and the great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this is before all this happened. Okay, this is after the pagan Roman Empire. All right, when you got Septimius Severus that ruled, but really it started around the time of 300 and something AD when the Byzantine Empire started. That's when the Lord laid hold on that dragon and casted them into slavery, and they was in slavery for 1,000 years. As back then, when you have the dark nations, or no, I don't want to even say dark nations, Israelites, Jakes that ruled in Rome for 1,000 years. Okay, that's what it's talking about there, like Apostle Tahar went into. Okay, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more. And he didn't deceive the nations no more around that time. All right, not for them 1,000 years, because he was bound up. All right, and it says till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Okay, so right afterwards, when he was loose, they were doing stuff like that and putting declarations out to the point where they can enslave the Israelites. Ultimately, it's vengeance, because Esau is vengeance on us having that birthright. Okay, so they took vengeance on it because they envied the fact that we had the birthright. So they're ruling for this short time again, because it's prophecy being fulfilled. All right, but it considers him in this scripture right here. It says the devil. All right, it ain't talking about no red person with horns who lives under the earth, but it talks about a deceiver. Christopher Columbus, again, perfect example. Like I just went into in the article before, how he considered those people being peaceable and friendly, and he lied about them and said that they drunk the blood of humans and had dog faces. Only a devil would do something like that, man. Only a devil would continue to deceive, all right? Because when he was bound up for those thousands of years, he didn't deceive the nations no more. But after he was loose for that short season, he continued on with his deception, starting with the Renaissance, all right? Now I'm going to go back to Psalms chapter 55, and I'm going to go to verse 20. And it says, he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. Like we just read in this article with Christopher Columbus. It talked about after they got shipwrecked, the Arawaks came and helped them. It took them hours to help them. Okay? He talked about how they gave him parrots, they gave him spears, they gave him everything out of peace. But the scriptures say he had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. Because I'm pretty sure when he came over there, he said that, oh, we're going to have fun. We're going to chill. We're going to be friends with each other. And you could even go into Thanksgiving with that when the pilgrims came over there. Talked about they had a big feast and then they stabbed him right in the back. That's something that a devil would do, man. And what them devils doing that, they continue to deceive the nations further on going into prophecy. All right. He had broken his covenant like he always does. He'll speak peaceable words to you. But as it says in Thessalonians, war was in his heart. All right. Verse 21 says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawing swords. And again, it's multiple examples of this devil doing that. Even when he had took down Rome back before he was bound 1,000 years, when they had took down Rome, when they had took down the Etruscans, when they had started ruling over Greece and Rome, they had did the same thing. It's nothing new. The scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun. It's just this devil doing what he does best, and that's deceiving. Speaking peaceable words to you, but deceiving you. All right? Got another scripture I'm going to go to, and it's in the book of Psalms chapter 50. I'm going to read verse 19. It says, thou givest thy mouth to do evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. And that's what happened, because those people he had came over there were his brothers, because they're Edomites, and those were Jakes that he had done. Those were Jakes that he had slaughtered. Same thing when they came over to Western Africa. Spoke peaceable words to him, but war was in his heart. Those are his brothers, man. The Southern Kingdom. That's why it says, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. Spoke evil things against them. Reported back to the king and queen and said they have dog faces. They eat blood. They're savages. That's where we're going to get the name Indians. I believe they're from the island of Carib, where they're cannibals that dwell. Slandereth thine own mother's son. Slandering his name. Let's go to this word really quick, all right? And that word there is dapaya, all right? And it says to blemish or to fault, all right? And I wish it was more in a definition, but we all know what slanders mean when you slander somebody's name. That's what they did, all right? And it says, these things, verse 21, these things hast thou done, and I kept silence, that thou thoughtest that I was together such as one of myself, but I will reprove thee, and set them in order before thine eyes. Now consider this, ye that forget the Most High, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver you. Whoso offereth praise glorifieth me, and to him that ordereth his conversation aright will I show the salvation of the Most High. Okay? So this stuff is going to happen again at the end of the day, man. We're under the curses. We have this devil ruling over us, but we have to keep in mind that the Most High is not going to forget about us, because this persecution is going to happen all over again. It's only going to be worse. But I don't want to digress from the topic. I got one more scripture I want to go into, and that's in the book of Psalms, chapter 58, verse 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So again, there's numerous occasions in history where this devil had gone everywhere speaking lies. All right. Even when you go to the curse of Cain. All right. Well, after he had killed his brother Abel, the scriptures say that Cain was marked and no man should pretty much destroy him, roughly paraphrasing. All right. When you go to that name Cain, it means weapon. And Cain's spirit is the same spirit that was in that serpent that beguiled Eve. Okay? And that's the same spirit that's in these people today who are the Edomites. All right? They're estranged from the womb, going everywhere speaking lies. Again, this is vengeance. Cain had vengeance on Abel and he struck him. Esau wants vengeance on Jacob and he's striking him continually. All right? And these are multiple examples. Speaking peaceable words to him, but deceit being in his heart. All right. Verse 4. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. Shows you who the serpent is. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear. Like when we read in Revelation, the 20th chapter, it talked about that old serpent. Ain't nothing new, man. That's what it's talking about. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O Lord. And when you go into that word teeth, it goes into being their military might. Okay? Because their militaries were the ones that had done this. They had went to these different lands, took over these people in the name of quote unquote Jesus Christ and Catholicism, in the name of the king, in the names of the Pope. Okay? And they would subjugate these people and put them under their rule and teach them their doctrine, their philosophies. There's been numerous occasions where this has happened. All right. Verse 6 again, it says, break their teeth, O Lord, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Yahweh. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow, shoot the arrows. Let them be as cut in pieces. OK, so I want to keep going. That just goes into their destruction. All right. And they will be destroyed. They're not going to continue going in their lies. Like we read in Revelation, the 20th chapter, he's loosed for only a short season. A short season. And we can see the fall of this devil right now. But for these people that want to glorify Christobal Colon, Christopher Columbus, that's going to be to their destruction, man. Columbus Day was on Monday, you know, and my job had a Christopher Columbus Day sale going on. All right. So that's their wickedness, man. They glorify wickedness. Like it says in Job, I believe Job, the 20th chapter, they speak lawfully concerning oppression. And with them holding days like that up, with them exalting him in the way that they do to name places after him, that's just going into their demise. And that goes to show you how much they do hate you. All right. But I wanted to end it off on that. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Again, it was just a response to Apostle Tahar's video. And again, you know, I definitely recommend brothers to watch that video because he went in on it. It's about 30-something minutes long. but it's straight up edification. You know, he tackles the subjects. He tackles so many subjects. I went into a few of them, and this is nothing but stuff that he went into. You know what I'm saying? Again, it was just a response to that video the apostle did. All right. But again, you know, I want to end it off saying, you know, call halal, all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and salutation to you elect Akim across the four corners of this earth, kicking his word in sincerity and truth. Man up and shalom.